What is up, everybody? It's Herf. You're back on the Duel Entertainment channel, and recently, Circus and I have been talking, and since I just came out with the Ritual Beast guide, he wanted me to make more of these deck type guides for popular decks or potentially viewer requested decks in terms of how do we actually, play the game optimally. So I guess this is the second part of the series of they're not really meta-analysis videos anymore, but basically deck type guides, and we're going to be trying to go through all of the most popular decks, maybe some that are like less linear than others. But so that's why the first perfect one to handle today is Shiranui, especially the Ghost Meets Girl version, just because it has a lot of non-linear plays in it. So start off, let's just figure out what everything does here. So Gazuki, during your main phase, you can send one zombie type monster from your deck to the grave. And then if this card is sent to the grave, you can banish one zombie type monster in your graveyard except Gazuki, and then special summon a zombie type monster from your hand. So important to note that the first is an ignition effect. So you have to be able to manually activate it. So that means if they cannot it on summon or remove it from the field somehow, it will not go through. You will not be able to activate it. That means a good replacement for this card is Samurai Skull. And what Samurai Skull does is when this card is summoned, you can send one zombie type monster from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a trigger. So as soon as it's summoned, its effect goes through, unlike Gazuki where you actually have to manually send it. Moving on to the Shiranui cards, we have Shiranui Solitaire. You contribute one zombie type monster to special summon one zombie type tuner with 0 defense from your deck. This card is banished. You can target one of your banished Shiranui monsters and special summon it. So basically, the whole utility of this guy is being able to pseudo search your tuners to the field, or you're able to banish this guy and recycle your tuners or any zombie type monster with 0 defense in the banish pile. So very good for setting up and being a very valuable extender. Next, not to flex, but prismatic by the way. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a Spectral Sword monster from your hand or deck. That means you get to special summon one of your tuners from your hand or deck. And if this card is banished, you get to draw a card and discard a card. So, pretty dang good. Samurai, potentially one of the most underrated cards in the deck, in my opinion. Because its first effect, you can banish one zombie type monster from your graveyard, and this card gains 600 attack. If it does, banish any monster that battled this card after damage calculation. So, this is a non-targeting banish that you have access to at all times and can proc your banish effects. So your Solitaire, your Squire, and your Spirit Master. And then its secondary effect is if this card is banished, you can target one Shiranui monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So if this card is in your graveyard along with Squire, you can Katan, banish your Samurai to add back your Squire, and then go on like that. So Spirit Master is basically the main form of removal for the deck. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one Shiranui monster from your hand or graveyard, except Shiranui Spirit Master, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card is banished, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So this includes all properly summoned synchro monsters from that may be in your graveyard. So properly summoned means that you actually synchro them on the field. Spectral Sword does not properly summon your synchro monsters. So if you use Spectral Sword to summon, let's say, Hades, you will not be able to summon Hades off of Spirit Master or Solitaire. That's potentially the biggest thing that people don't get about this deck, is that you have to be able to properly summon something in order to be able to recycle it from the graveyard or banish pile. So big disclaimer there. So the level 3 tuner, Spectral Sword Shade, you play at 2, which it has 2 good uses. The first use is it's a level 7 synchro play, which can be very, very good. It's not always the best line of play, but it can be very good in situations. The other main, the biggest, or arguably one of the biggest reasons that this card is really good is you can tribute this card and special summon two banished zombie type monsters except Spectral Sword Shade, including a Shiranui monster. So it has to be at least one Shiranui monster, but like we said, they have to be able to be properly summoned first. You're not going to be able to special summon these guys or any of your non-properly summoned extra deck Shiranui monsters either. So, and then put them to the field, but their effects are negated. So that's important. So if you special summon a Solitaire off of the level 3, then attempt to activate Solitaire effect, it won't go through. Spectral Sword, potentially the most important card for the deck. You only need to play one of because you can recycle this one pretty much constantly off of stuff like Solitaire. So if this card is in your grave, except the turn it was sent there, you can target one non-tuner monster in your graveyard, banish it both in this card, and if you do, special summon one zombie type synchro monster from your extra deck, which is really, really good. Turns out, especially because you can Spectral Sword banish Solitaire. Solitaire will resummon the level 2, and then you have a level 8 play on board. So now, Cosmic Cyclones, very, very good. Ghost Meets Girl, a Shiranui story. So this has actually led to multiple classifications of the deck. And if your opponent controls a monster, discard one zombie type monster to special summon one Shiranui monster with a different name from your deck or graveyard. Also, you cannot special summon monsters except zombie monsters for the rest of this turn after this card resolves. You can only activate one Ghost Meets Girl, a Shiranui story once per turn. So pretty dang good. Basically, your main discard fodder is going to be your level 2 tuner or your Solitaire. So with this, basically, you're going to be able to discard stuff that may not be optimal in your hand at the time in order to put them in the graveyard to use as extra resources, as well as just be able to get another body on board for free, which is really, really nice. Dice it. I've opted to play this card. This is not super standard. Basically, you roll a die, and you get to send cards from your deck to the graveyard up to the number that was rolled. Needle Stealing, somewhat standard for Shiranui to play. If there are 4 more monsters on the field, destroy all face-up monsters. And this is the other big unique card for this build is Katan. So once per turn, you can banish one fire monster from your grave to target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish that target. So this card is kind of broken. It's very, very good. Because you're able to, remember we talked about all of these banishing effects of all of these monsters. So you're able to proc those on either player's turn in order to get stuff like removal, drawing cards, resummoning, adding from your graveyard. So Dice It and Ghost Meets Girl are the main ways that you can get stuff into your graveyard, I guess, along with Kazuki. And then this is how you exploit them in the graveyard on your turn or your opponent's turn. So Trishula is the other maybe potentially unusual card in my extra deck. I just really like this card because I don't like getting ran into floodgates, and it actually banishes all of them face up. So like I said before, you'll actually be able to get all their effects. So like let's say I had a Spirit Master, a Solitaire, and a Squire all on the field, and I summon Trishula, I'd get to pop, resummon, and draw and discard all off the same summon. So now I'm going to play a couple of test hands, walk you guys through some combos. I'm going to try to not talk as much about like the normal combos or like open Squire, summon Squire, and summon a tuner. That's just not educational at all. So let's see what we get. All right, so here we're going first, and a lot of people may be like, all right, so summon Squire, set Dice It, all that, which I would probably agree with. However, we do have Ghost Meets Girl, a Shiranui story in our hand. So this is going to be a very interesting combo piece. Unfortunately, we're going first, so it's not going to come up right away. But we will just normal summon Squire here. Special summon the level 2. And I want to show you guys a lot of what you can do off of Samurai effect here. So we're going to do our normal summon level 6 play. But for next turn, we're actually going to open up a lot of possibilities, and I actually really want to see what we're about to mill here. So we're going to mill, and our opponent isn't really doing anything. We're going to toggle on here. So we actually get to roll a 6, which is really nice. Wait, since we rolled a 6, hold up. During your opponent's cards, banish cards from the graveyard equal to the result. Then if the result was 1 and 6, during your opponent's turn, send cards to top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of 6. If the result was 6, banish 1 card from your graveyard. So this is actually mandatory here. So what we can do in order to be able to plus off of this is Samurai is like good in our hand, but in comparison to what it could be, it's not the best. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to banish Squire. And I could activate Kazuki as well, actually. No, we're actually not going to activate Kazuki. Square effect, yes please. We're going to be able to draw, and we're actually going to discard. We could discard the Needle Ceiling, but I want to discard, Needle Ceiling. And here we're actually just going to be able to pass. Oh, and we top decked into Katan here. So really our hand is basically unbeatable. And why I say that is because we have our graveyard 100% beautifully built up. We have Samurai in the hand. We have a Shiranui story on the field. So what we're going to do is the typical just like level 8 play. So in case you didn't know how this worked, you banish Solitaire off of this effect here to special summon a level 6. I typically like going into zombies or the Archfiend more often than the Hades. I use the Hades a lot in like the Ritual Beast matchup, but most of the time the Archfiend is just a much safer play just because it's just blanket protection from destruction. So Solitaire, you're going to click yes, special summon the level 2 back to the field. And so here I'm actually going to use the level 6 that was already here. And Shogun Saga will activate to banish our level 6 from the graveyard, going to 5500 attack. So it's important to note this Archfiend Zombie Skull was not properly summoned. However, Shogun Saga was properly summoned. And how you can tell is because this was summoned off of Spectral Sword's effect, and then this was synchro summoned with the materials on the field. So I'm just going to keep harping that home because that really is the biggest way people mess up with the deck is people don't realize what they summoned properly or not. We're going to activate Samurai effect because I want to simulate like this is a really impactful card that our opponent has. Like this card is broken. So we're going to use Samurai's effect to be able to banish it. So like, let's say this was a Cocytus. We have lethal on board through a Cocytus because of Samurai. So we're going to swing into it. It just gets banished. And let's say that went to the graveyard. That means Sealing Ceremony of Katan would be active. We're just going to swing for game. So the biggest or the best use of your level 2 in the grave is going into a level 8 or level 10 play. Like there's absolutely no reason to go into like a meh level 6, like going into Hades too early doesn't really make sense if the rest of your board isn't established. Like we used the level 2 there because we knew that we could put lethal on board through Shogun Saga. So please do not use level 2 unless you're going for a power play and are going to be able to, get control of the board. Do not just use level 2 because it's there. All right. So here we're actually going first. So this is not this looks like kind of a brick, all right? But I really want to emphasize the going first and going second power that Ghost Meets Girl can give you. So right now we're going to set Dice It, set Ghost Meets Girl, and I'm actually going to go for a set Spectral Sword Shade. And why I want to do this is that if for some reason our opponent can banish something, I don't know, but I want to have the option to be able to discard my level 2 from my hand. Because it's a lot safer in my hand than it is on the field. And since I already have essentially a guaranteed way to get it there, there's absolutely no reason for me to put it on the board. And level 3 engrave isn't that big of a deal. So he's going to target my face down, which is fine. So now we can actually send our level 2 to special summon our Solitaire. And what this is going to do, this allows us to OTK next turn because we pseudo searched our Solitaire to the board, because our Solitaire can actually activate its effect now. Special summoning the level 3 doesn't really matter that much, but it's nice because I top decked into Gazuki, because then Gazuki can send something like Spirit Master to the grave. I can go into Square Saga, which if my opponent had a back row or had something like that, or even if they had Kaiku right now, we have lethal through Kaiku because Square Saga can banish itself to pop stuff on the board. Like that's how guaranteed of lethal we have. Because if Square Saga says you can banish one zombie type, or you can banish one monster, and then you get these effects, which are, if it's a zombie, you gain 300 attack. If it's a fire, you can destroy a spell or trap. And if it's a synchro, you can destroy one monster on the field. So that's pretty good, because if we banish itself, it gets the zombie effect, the fire effect, and the synchro effect. So that's boost attack, destroy a spell or trap, and destroy a monster, and none of it targets. So that's why if they have Kaiku and back row, you can banish itself, pop the Kaiku, pop a back row, and then they have no way to stop your Spirit Master play, which is super important. So right now, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna banish the Spirit Master so I can pop the monster here and swing for game, because we're going to do our whole level 8 combo that we explained. So we're going to summon this. Like I said before, we're going to summon Zombie Skull. Solitaire is going to resummon the level 2. The level 8 is going to come out here. And then now Shogun Saga will banish the level 6. And that's game. Let's go. None of that would have been possible without our play off of Ghost Meets Girl here. So Ghost Meets Girl was absolutely integral to being able to set up that turn. So discarding the level 2 to special summon the Solitaire gives you a guaranteed level 8 play next turn, as well as gave us a level 3 on board to combo off with our level 4 that we drew. So overall, gave us huge potential to be able to kill our opponent, which is always better than not killing your opponent. And to wrap the video up, I really wanted to go over, because Katan is such an important card, I really wanted to go over when exactly are the best uses of Katan versus the meta decks. Because Katan is really what essentially makes this very different from other Shiranui builds, which we have seen some smaller builds play it, just because it's so good. And why is it good? Because it banishes from your opponent's graveyard, and now we'll explain why that's good. So let's say you're going against Kristrons. Combo Shiranui is considered to have one of the best Crystron matchups in the game right now, and that's solely because of Katan. So if you open this card early, you basically win the game. I'm not going to guarantee every single time, but it gives you a like 3 times more likely chance of winning that matchup because Katan can banish their resources from their grave, because they rely so much on being able to special summon or search from their graveyard. So when should you use it? You should always look to be banishing their Salfefnir or their Thistvern in the graveyard. These are their 2 main ways of gaining card advantage. So if you take them out of the game, you're able to stop them from extending their combos, and you're able to essentially halt them very, very early. Now, let's say you draw it later into the game. What are the best uses of it? So I would still say Thistvern is a good choice, although Salfefnir late game isn't as good anymore. The later you go into the game, the more you want to focus on Thistverns, and if you haven't seen an impact, Smyger is a good call. Or if they have recently put, I say recently put, because a lot of times once they put it in the graveyard, they're going for an OTK, is the turtle. Because the turtle is normally kind of useless in the grave, but if you see them actually like putting it into the grave and going for a game, and they have like a good board setup, that's when you definitely want to get the turtle out as fast as possible. So early game, Thistvern and Salfefnir. Late game, you should definitely be going after the Thistvern, Smyger, and Turtles, if that makes sense. Now, when should you use this versus Dark Magician? This is honestly probably the best card in the deck versus Dark Magician, because you're able to play around Kaiku and play around Dark Magical Circle being able to banish your stuff. So how is that? So because both Spirit Master and let me pull the card up really fast, and Dark Magical Circle happen on the resolution of the first effect being activated. So what I mean by that is Navigation summons something from their hand. So after that resolves, Dark Magical Circle is triggered because a Dark Magician was summoned, therefore allowing them to banish. So when you activate Katan on Chainlink 2 and banish Spirit Master, Spirit Master is triggered on the resolution of that chain. So Chainlink 1, Navigation. Chainlink 2, Katan. How does this interaction work? Basically, they will special summon their Dark Magicians to the field, and you will banish your Spirit Master. What happens after that is the turn player, so the Dark Magician player, will then be allowed to target a card to banish. Now, you as the Shiranui player will then be able to chain your Spirit Master effect to pop the Dark Magical Circle, negating its on-field effect. Because it's a continuous spell, it needs to be on the field when it resolves in order to resolve, and it is not. So therefore, no banish. The other good reason to chain this to Navigation, or Katan to Navigation, is because if they summon a Kaiku, your Katan becomes dead. So when in doubt, chain it to the circle, because at worst, you get to pop their Magician of Dark Illusion. And at best, you get to pop their Kaiku, which is their main way of shutting down your combos, and you get or you get to hit their Dark Magical Circle, which is super huge as well. So your potential outs are either, or your potential outs to Kaiku are either Katan when they activate Navigation, or Square Saga banishing itself from the field in order to pop a monster and a back row. And versus Black Wings, you want to chain this to banish Spirit Master when Simoon is activated in the hand, because just like the Navigation interaction, both will resolve putting the Whirlwind on the field, and then Simoon summoned, so Whirlwind will trigger, and then your Spirit Master will trigger, you pop the Whirlwind, and they can't search anymore. So really, I mean, those are the big three uses of Katan in the meta right now, beyond just being able to banish stuff from your opponent's graveyard, like the Gamma Oil target from Karakuri's, the Lara target from Ritual Beasts, stuff like that. But yeah, overall, this is a very strong deck. I hope I've illustrated you some of the main combos and how to use Ghost Meets Girl, how to use Catan, and just your general OTK kind of shenanigans. So with that, thank you very much. Make sure you check out the Duel Links Entertainment Twitch. Make sure you go follow them, subscribe to them, watch all the tournaments. They're super, super great. Make sure you get in the Discord because that's the main way that we notify people. A, when more YouTube videos go up, and B, when our free tournaments that happen practically every single day with $10 cash prizes. Amazing practice. They're typically 5 rounds of Swiss into a top 32. So they're a very competitive format. Get in there. And then, of course, since you're already here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And since this is essentially going to become more of a series, let me know what decks you want me to talk about in the future. If I don't own them, I can try to find an account with them and talk about them. But yeah, thank you very much. So let me know in the comment section what you think of this. If you think I didn't go over something and I need to address it in a part 2, I'd be more than happy to do that. What decks should I check out next? And thank you very much, and hope you guys are having a good day. See you later.